Hey Fitheads, this week we have Shira Lazar and Jordana Reim to talk to the two most skeptical people about meditation.
Welcome to Total Fitheads.
Serious fitness for not so serious people.
Hey Fitheads, we're here with Shira Lazar and Jordana Reim. Is that right?
Reim, you got it.
And we're talking meditation. Okay.
Ali, you seem very questionable of this.
Oh.
This is Shira's voice, by the way, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah. Did you know that you just came in under fire of two people that completely have not found any benefits? I mean, not spoilers here, but Max and I could just spend this hour taking a dump on meditation.
Meditation has been very difficult for me.
You just did it. So how was your experience just now, about an hour ago, when we had a Peace Inside Live class that you both got to join?
Yeah, so for our viewers that were not there at the class, Max and I joined Jordana for some virtual meditation, my first virtual meditation class.
Oh.
Max, what'd you think?
My first class also. I mean, it was nice in that it felt more interactive. It felt like you were paying attention to us, which is nicer than like a tape recording, I guess. And it just tied for first with the best meditation I've ever done. by far.
Wow.
That being said,
Awesome.
Meditation has been tough for me. It was my New Year's resolution. I've hit, I'm looking at my calendar right now. I think I've missed 10 days all year of some sort of meditation every morning. And I don't know what I'm doing. And it doesn't feel like anything's happening. And it doesn't feel like I'm going anywhere. I don't know.
Wow.
It doesn't.
Wait, so Max, so you've been meditating every day in 2020 except for 10 days that you've missed.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I have my calendar here. So I did it as like that thing where you get to highlight a day and then you continue a habit. That's a nice thing that I like to do. And yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I missed probably like 10 days.
And so you've actually continued doing the practice, even though you're feeling like nothing's happening. It's potentially even a waste of your time, but you still do it.
Yeah, like an idiot. I do that. It makes me feel super smart to do something that I don't see any, I don't know. I guess it's just so many people have said that it's so effective. So many people have, so many people I respect quite a bit, very smarty pants type people have said it's the most amazing thing. And so many people have said that it does a lot. It's not even just a little bit of an improvement. It's a huge improvement on that life. So I feel like something must be going on. Like I believe it, I'm obviously willing to try it, but yeah, I don't know. I just sit there and I don't get it.
And so what's the practice that you've been doing? Is it just a seated, quiet meditation where you're?
So for the first month I did, just to sit there, don't think about anything. If you find yourself thinking about something, stop and just think about your breath. That was the first month. And I would do 10 minutes every morning. And then I sort of moved in and out of more guided stuff. Obviously there's only tape recordings or whatever video tape recordings. 1,000 years old.
It's like on an app like Calm or Headspace.
First I did Headspace, then I did Calm. Now I'm on 10% Happier, which I actually like more than the other two. Mainly because the main guy is from Boston and I'm from Boston. So I'm like, all right, well, at least this guy gets me.
Yeah, there's a connection. No, that definitely helps, I think.
And this one's nice because they sort of talk about concrete ideas. And they're like, think about something you feel nervous about, or think about something that brings you anxiety. And like, why does it do that? Note the feeling and then see if that helps you move on from it. Doesn't help me move on from it. I still feel super anxious. Doesn't help me unwind. I still feel super wound up. I don't know. I'm having a tough time. So please, I'd love.
Jordana, what do you think?
Yeah,
point me in the right direction.
It sounds like we just did in a sense, because wow, how amazing. You joined us today and you had your best meditation. So it seems like, and that's what I would have said, is that you need more personalized guidance, that sometimes there's just so much that we can do on our own. We get to a point where we, plateau, and I really applaud you for continuing on with that, because it's the hardest thing when you're not seeing improvement to keep going. And that the fact that you did that, now you've found us, and we have meditations twice a day. So I would say try joining our meditations and having that live one-on-one guidance. If you're not gonna, it's a very inexpensive way of getting that one-on-one kind of guidance that people normally pay $150, $200 an hour for.
There you go. And by the way, what Jordana is mentioning is this new platform we've started in quarantine, which is, a passion project as well of ours. And it's called peaceinside.live. That's where Ali and Max, where you just log in, add your email, and it's free. And right now we're figuring as we go, but right now we are offering, morning and evening classes around meditation, mindfulness, movement, usually 9:30 a.m. Pacific and then 7:30 p.m. Pacific. Weekends we'll be doing some tweaks at the, for the nighttime one. But I think that meditation means something different for each of us. And I think the more you're okay with that and you don't compare yourself to others, the more at peace you'll be with your own journey around it. And I wonder, Max, and having known Max, how much you do that in other parts of your life where you're if you're comparing and contrasting always what others are saying about their experience to yours, of course that's going to be nerve-wracking. You know what I mean? Versus allowing yourself, giving yourself that compassion and kindness to kind of just go through what might work for you. And there might not always be that quick solution, right? But I do think that there's something there. And I do believe you probably have an instinct and curiosity to continue going down that path, which is where that's awesome, because that awareness is part of the work. So you have to give yourself more credit, I think.
So you're suggesting try different types of meditation versus just keep going and you'll get there at some point.
Yeah. So I say to people who are beginners to pick a meditation and try it for at least a week, and see what happens there. But if after that time, then try something else. Try something else and explore, and then find a teacher that you resonate with, who can sense where you're at. You can ask questions to. I think that in month one, had you probably starting off on your own is quite tough, with some of the simple instructions, because even when I heard you describing the instructions, stop thinking about your thought, stop thinking your thought, come back to the breath. I mean, I know you were simplifying it, but that practice of telling ourselves to stop, even just that language, stop thinking about it, will create force, right? It makes a break versus a flow, force versus flow, when the thoughts are always going to be there. If we had wonderful thoughts all day long, we wouldn't want to stop them. Right. But the idea, in meditation is just to see that there's thoughts happening. Some of them we will label as good, some of them will label as bad, but can we just see that they're there? And can we find a place of balance and calm amidst the chaos that may be the mind on any given day?
So wait, do you believe then there is possibly someone out there that doesn't need meditation because they are just having positive thoughts? Or is meditation for everyone?
I think that meditation is for everyone. If I were to pull from in Buddhist philosophy, they say that meditation exists to rid the mind of all of the rubbish, which is the negative thoughts, and to increase the positive, virtuous thoughts. It's all within the word Buddha. Buddha actually means to rid your mind of the rubbish and to increase the good stuff. Once you do this, you become a Buddha. This is what it means to become a Buddha, is that you have rid your mind of the things that are negative and you just have the positive, the virtuous thoughts there. In this, we've liberated ourselves from samsaric, this suffering life, the suffering world of thoughts, and we have fully activated the wisdom within us.
But then also, yeah, that was deep. They're whoa. They're Ali and Max are what is going on? No, but I mean, for me, I do. I'm a proponent. I definitely don't think everything is for everyone. I do think, though, there are more possibilities and positivity in doing it than in not doing it. So for me, I found these tools to be really a big part of me letting go, and also, like, I guess, processing my suffering and the negative thoughts. And also when I'm very overwhelmed and I've done so much, and like, every day there's so much going on, and I find sometimes my brain literally, it's like too much to handle. It's not like I'm gonna have an anxiety attack, but I don't know if you ever feel this, where your brain just, I feel like it's gonna like explode. Not a headache. It just feels like when you've taken in too much information and you're like, I don't need to keep taking all of this on, whether it be emotional baggage or just information, like influx of stuff, even if I've been on my phone and just on social media. And I find when I meditate, whether it be, I would say guided, or I've also practiced Vedic meditation and I've learned Vedic, for me, it like empties out my mind of all the stuff I don't need to be holding on to. So I can it's like having your plate open for more food, more nutrients, more stuff for me to like take in, versus keeping, myself holding on to all the stuff in my life and all the information that I'm consuming that I don't need to be holding on to. It allows a refresh to happen in a way.
You're like bringing me, you're like whoosh, whoosh, back down to earth.
Well, that's like grounding also. Yeah, it's like, it's grounding, but for me, it's like, it's like a detox of my brain every time I do it.
I think we should clarify that, like, what is meditation, right?
Yes, please. Oh, yeah. We're beginners.
Yeah, because we've been, and Jordana, go through the difference between also like the guided to the Vedic transcendental, if you can't, like all those.
Because what you're talking about, Shira, what happened with me, I would do push-ups. So if there's something better,
what do you mean? But like everyone gets their, by the way, everyone gets their anxiety out in different ways. But I do think that the practice of meditation doesn't replace the push-ups or your workout. Like people could work out or dance, and that's their meditation too, in a way.
So meditation is the word medi in Sanskrit means to care for. So meditation is a way of caring for your mind. And it shares the same, beginning as medicine. So what is the medicine for the mind? Now, in order for something to be a meditation, there's three components. One is that you are relaxed. So in whatever practice this is that is your meditation, there's relaxation. Now, we're not completely relaxed, because if we were completely relaxed, we'd be unconscious, we'd be asleep, and that's not a meditation. The second is that we become the watcher. And what I mean by the watcher is like the observer of thoughts, the observer of the self, what's happening here, that there's this awareness that's turned on. And then the third component is that we remove judgment. So with whatever is going on, we let go of the judgment. So actually anything that, that's like the litmus test. Is it those three things? If it is, then it's a meditation. And so, as Shira said, dancing can be a meditation. There's meditative dancing. A meditation that I practiced when I was in India is whirling, Sufi whirling, actually like what you did as a kid in the backyard, turning round and round and round. That's a meditation. Shaking your body, just shaking. That can be a meditation. There are meditative ways of doing that.
Laughing meditation.
Laughing is one. I led a laughing meditation on a Zoom call a few weeks ago, and it was hilarious. And then even running.
With no judgment, right? No judgment.
Look, this is what it is, Max. So this is like a laughing one. Should we just show them what a laughing one is?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Show us.
Well, I mean, you're the one. All right, so literally, yeah, this is what.
All right.
You do that And at first it feels weird. Well, Jordana did it in an ashram. Wait, did you do it in an ashram? You need to tell them your experience in an ashram doing this, because you go through different waves of it where you start it and you're like, this is weird. I feel like it's forced. And then, I don't know, what was your experience doing it?
Can we also discuss what an ashram is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Jordana, share.
So cool. So, so an ashram is like, it's a communal place. They have them, they come from India, but I've seen ashrams in the United States as well, where there's teachings that go on and there's communal food gathering. Everybody's doing what's called karma yoga, which is a service. Your service might be teaching. Your service might be raking up leaves in the garden. Your service might be cleaning up after meals or cleaning floors, things like this. It's this communal, like in Israel, there's a kibbutz. That's sort of a similar concept to ashram. But in India in particular, we go to these ashrams where we get to learn the ancient practices of yoga and meditation and well-being. And so one of my teachers, Osho, has an ashram that it's like he doesn't call it, they don't call it an ashram there. Some people do, but it's a meditation center. And people go to find other people who are on the same path and to do these different practices there. This one in particular that Shira is asking me to tell you the story about it's very big. It's famous because Osho had a huge impact on both India and the West. He came to the West and he set up an ashram in Oregon. There's actually a pretty controversial Netflix series about it that we don't have to get into. But did
you ever hear of Wild Wild Country?
Tiger King?
No. Wild Wild Country.
Oh no.
Oh my God, you need to watch that. That's a good binge watching.
It's going on my list.
Series.
Great.
Yeah, it's
kind of also.
wild.
He took it the other direction where it was. Anyway, but
I would actually disagree with that. And sort of like I want to mention it, but I don't at the same time, because a lot of people who watch Wild Wild Country, like we don't fully watch something, we don't see what's there. And I think that like there were a lot of things that were wrong within the Osho community. And there was misguided leadership. I don't actually believe that it was fully Osho who was doing that. But rather that he had someone in charge who was very much in love with him and wanted his attention and did some pretty messed up things like poisoning an entire,
because they were wanting them out and they thought it was like culty, and then in order to stop them from getting pushed out of this place, there's all these things that happen.
And by the way, it's super. It actually is really culty. It's really culty. I'm not going to say that it's not. It is.
Let's move on to the actual. Besides the Osho part of it, laughing meditation is available in many places. You just happened to talk about the fact that you went to this ashram.
Yeah, and it feels culty, and I'm not gonna move away from the fact that it does feel that way, but that there's a reason for it, and there's a reason. And like, here's what feels culty about it. What feels culty is that everybody has to wear like a matching outfit, like the same like long robe, right? There's a different one for the day and the evening, and the idea with that is that it's not distracting to other people. That you're coming there to do this practice. And so you're not like checking out what someone else is wearing. It's just like, it's all the same.
Or having to decide what to wear, right? I feel like that.
Yeah, I would love that. I would love not to have to decide that.
Says the girl in a onesie.
Right. So anyhow, so I go into this meditation hall. It's like this big pyramid and there's 500 people like in this hall. And I'm there for the laughing meditation, thinking, what's going to happen? I roll out my yoga mat. I sit down on my cushion. And
Whoopee cushion.
Yeah.
Ah!
Sorry, stupid. It's laughing. Sorry.
So this person comes up and they're just like, they're wearing the robe and they press play on a video. And the video tells you like, okay, first you're going to laugh. That's like the first part of this. Then you're going to, there's this part where you lay back and, you do something with your eyes. There's like an eye movement, and then you rest in meditation.
Is this inside or outside?
It's inside.
Okay.
So there's this like marble floor, all these people sitting at their yoga mats. And then they say, now we will begin. And the music starts playing. And everybody around me just starts breaking out in laughter. No one's talking, just like full on throwing themselves at their mats, like just like full body into this laughter. And I'm like,
Chuckle.
And how did you get into it? Yeah, like tell what was the process?
So, you know,
for
at
how
that
long?
point,
How long is everybody laughing?
30 minutes.
It's like we're done, or like 30 straight minutes of hard belly laugh.
30 straight minutes. You're not interacting with anyone else. 30 straight minutes of like everyone in this room is doing this practice, laughing,
Wow.
and there's like different laughs coming from different parts of the room, and it's just it's going. And so how do you find yourself in that and then participate in it? So like an interesting thing happened for me is that I started you start by forcing it. And by the way, the body doesn't know that you're forcing it. Like you have the same physiological responses from forcing the laughter as actual genuine laughter. It's got the same beneficial effects. So you start to increase the positive, like the dopamine, the serotonin increases in your brain, oxytocin increases in your brain because you're making yourself laugh. But by the way, you can't continue to make yourself laugh for very long without actually becoming happy and celebrating something. And so I found that to keep myself going, I went back and I started celebrating things in my life that I hadn't celebrated.
Cool.
Yeah. So it became really profound. Like I was just like going back and pulling from things, and I was really enjoying those things. And that was so for me it was a really transformative practice, and that's why I don't teach a 30-minute laughing meditation anymore, but I do teach at least a 10-minute laughing meditation with some laughing exercises that we also do in class.
I feel like I'd be sore. 30 minutes of like core.
But what are you talking about? You like pump so much. Like, what do you like? That would hurt.
Yeah,
hurt
but nothing's
you?
that hilarious
Get rid of
for
your
that
gym.
long. It's
Get
a
rid of your
different
gym.
muscle.
This is your abdominal workout.
Yeah, I feel like my lungs would be like, all right, we're good. Like, let's take a chill
Your
pill.
stomach. For me, it's always in the stomach, like your abs. Yeah. But I mean, that's one type of one. And I think, but what's the common thread, Jordana, do you think, between all these meditations, these different types? I feel like there is a common thread of, well, presence, of non-judgment, compassion.
Yeah, it's those three things, right? It's that we relax, right? That we're aware of ourselves, and that we can let go of judgment, and really like what these active meditations do, like the laughing meditation, is it very naturally brings us into this passive state of like, I have just moved so much from my mind out of my body, right? From my mind through my body and out. And there's this like ability to rest.
I've always believed that I meditated while I play the piano, but I've now changed my mind about that, hearing how you described meditation, because I can easily get into flow. If I sit down on a piano and touch one key, boom, I'm in flow. Like time disappears. I'm completely focused. If I had a piano in front of a toilet, I would play the piano until I died. That would be the end of my life. So I don't even know if flow is a good thing, because my life would disappear. Yeah. But it doesn't sound like I'm meditating, because I am not aware of myself. I'm not being the thinker of my thoughts. I'm not thinking about my own. So it seems like I've had a misconception about my piano and meditation this whole time.
Well, so if you describe it as flow is a meditative state, but it's a little bit different. I love hearing how you describe that, though. Can you describe it again? Like the not thinking about my thoughts. Like I love.
Yeah, you actually said it in a really interesting way.
Around me just disappears, and I am not the thinker about my thoughts. I'm only focused on piano and getting better, and I'm moving forward with that, and just flowing through the music.
Actually, that sounds quite like a meditation. It sounds like, a single pointed meditation, right? Where when we sit and we focus on the breath, there's this idea of increasing our ability to focus. And so that outside of the meditation, we can learn that. And it seems like you've learned that through this practice of single point of focus on the playing of the music. To me, that sounds very meditative.
Interesting. Okay. So I don't necessarily have to be like pushing thoughts out of my head if they're
Thing is, though,
focusing.
Allie, and I feel like for my Vedic, the whole teaching was always that it's okay to have your thoughts. It's like it's a process of non-judgment, of allowing yourself to be aware, but then not attached to them. So like when I'm meditating, well, there's obviously guided meditations like what we have, whether it be Headspace or Calm, or what we do with Peace Inside Live. We do live over Zoom virtual guided, which are very interactive, which you guys experienced. But in Vedic, you're given a mantra, which is just a sound, like a word sound that doesn't mean anything. And just like the ones you did, Max, where you reconnect with your breath, I say this sound, this word over and over, and I do get lost in it. And you're supposed to dip into some sort of other place. But then ultimately you'll come out and you'll notice, you start noticing you having thoughts again. And then just in that moment, you go back to the mantra. And so you could have some meditations that are super deep and you're like, wow, I got lost and I came out of it and it was done. And you're like, I went somewhere else. Awesome. And some days you might be in your head. You might have thoughts. And like the whole idea is not judge one as better or worse than the other. It's just like where you are right now today, but it's always just about going back. The mantra is there to help you kind of like come back to with the meditative practice without creating a judgment on your thoughts. Your thoughts, it's like the thoughts and going back into the mantra is just part of the process. So kind of like I guess it allows you to look at it from another angle versus it being like negative to have thoughts. It's just more that your thoughts are there, but they're passing. It's like, I think part of my journey of finding more inner joy, which is always obviously like a flexible process, it's not linear and it's changing all the time, is allowing myself to have the thoughts and allowing myself to feel those thoughts and process it, but not allowing those thoughts to become who I am and my identity and me being attached to them. Like I need these things to make myself feel who I am. Does that make sense?
Yes, maybe. No,
you can say no. Like, well, like when I'm like in it, like I'll be, so say my mantra is ta-da. Okay. That's not what it is. So I'm like, ta-da, ta-da. You're not.
I feel like there should be a rabbit or something.
so I'm like in my head, I'm thinking ta-da. And like you will, when you learn and learning is so easy. It's not hard. It's like this idea, it's not, but I'll notice I'm out of nowhere. I go to nothing, but I don't even notice when I go to nothing because out of nowhere I start thinking again. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm aware that I'm thinking, I'm sitting here, I'm up, basically, I'm aware. So I go back to ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. And then out of nowhere, I might be in those lengths of time in the nothing zone. I don't even know how long I was in there. And it doesn't even matter. It's just part of it. It's just part of the practice.
Is there a goal to stay in the nothing zone for longer, or it doesn't matter? It's just, are you just noting what's happening at all time?
Some days I'm in it longer and sometimes I'm not, and it's just that's where I'm at that day, and that's all. That's it. But I don't know, Jordana, what's your take on that? Because that's my experience.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't do Vedic meditation. I'm not trained in it, and I don't practice it. But in terms of meditation, for me, the motivation to meditate is to have a deeper understanding of myself and to cultivate more love within myself so that I can understand others and love others more than I do.
Yeah.
It's always to increase understanding and love. And actually, yeah, like I very much enjoy the teachings of Buddha, where they teach about the two wings of the bird, the wing of wisdom and the wing of compassion. And that when we bring these two things together, that's when we're able to transcend the suffering that we feel day in and day out. And so we just practice, and meditation is one of the tools that we use in order to find clarity, to find focus, to see what is working and to see what is not working in our own lives and choose shifting.
It's interesting that you're describing it being about others and connecting to others, because it feels like such a, solo act, right? And it's all self-serving and all about going in your own head and not connecting with other people.
Yeah.
Which is also why it was so different for me being in your class today and having that actual non-judgment when you're like, say whatever, I'm not going to judge you, which is different than sitting alone by myself being like, okay, totally not going to judge myself.
But then you do, right? Yeah. It's like, because we just need the permission, We, like, I know what it's like. Like I have, like, and I still judge myself, but like I have gone through so much judgment of myself that my life looked really different 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I was a producer in Los Angeles, and I thought it looked really, really good, and I was miserable doing it, actually. And I was judging myself for not wanting to do it, and it was like I was living with that day in, day out. It's like, how could you not want to do this? You're making so much money. You're so young, and you're in this position of power, and this is what people know you for. And then leaving, when I left it and I surrendered, it was like, how could you do that? Who are you now? You're nobody. So I get it. Like I'm not perfect now, and I won't ever be perfect when it comes to judging thoughts, but I understand that. And that's a real, like, what I like to bring to my meditations and to my groups is a space where we can say, like, that judgment came up and that's okay. And I'm going to choose to do a little bit better the next time. And so we make space for that in our classes.
Yeah. I think just the key is these practices are a reminder for what we get to bring to our lives all the time, which is saying it is non-judgment, it is presence, it is gratitude, it is compassion for ourselves and others. And I think the reason why sometimes it is said that it's not just a solo journey, it is, the inner work is solo, but in the end, when you are better to yourself and working on yourself, you can also be better to others. It's a domino effect.
Well, first we have to learn and understand ourselves, right? So, so often it's like we're scared to go inside to see what's happening here. But you are your best petri dish, right? To understand the entire universe. So if you want to relate and connect with, I know, crazy. If you want to relate and connect with others, like, understand what's happening inside, because you're not the only one who's experiencing those things. We're all human here. And we all have the same swirling negative, like, to varying degrees, the same swirling negative thoughts and positive thoughts. Like, there's not that many variations, right? When we get down to it, that's our humanness. And so we tap into our own, we understand our own, and we work on healing ourselves. That's wisdom that we can then take and marry that with compassion so that we can relate and connect with others in a whole new way.
Whoa. You said a sciencey thing that made me then, like, feel like I don't know. It's,
I always say, what are you, like, for me, I'm always like, what am I fighting for? What do I want? Like, for me, I want freedom from, I feel like there's so much possibility in this time we have here. So I don't want to limit that for myself. And part of that is, being a prisoner of my own mind and my own shackles I put on myself. So I'm always in curiosity to figure out tools I can add to my toolbox and kit that helps me get out of my own every day. And not saying that I'm not allowed being it. Some days I have, like, worse days than others, but saying, like, I at least take responsibility for that and say, like, okay, what's my choice? What am I fighting for? I'm fighting for joy and freedom. That's really it. And part of that is saying what is out there to allow, empower me and inspire me to get there. And so these are tools, just like anything, like, people take medicine for different things. these are different types of medicines, but there's practices that are, available to us.
And I feel like I'm going into it wrong because I'm taking this meditation medicine, so I'll be faster at responding to emails and like better and more efficient, and so I need to meditate better so I can be better at life, and like that just is a negative circle of judging again.
You know what? Whatever gets you there in the first place, again, I would say don't judge yourself for that. How wonderful that you decided to do this practice, and may you continue it so that you uncover something else about yourself and about your life. Like if that's what gets you there, fine.
True.
That's like a really amazing first or even second, third step to say, I want to be better in my life, so I'm going to meditate. If that's, I see nothing wrong with that.
I agree. And Allie, and it might be just worth saying always why. Whenever sometimes I'm like reflecting on things, so I sit in it and it's like, hey, I want to be better at my email. Why? Because blah, blah, blah. And then you keep going, why? And it's really can get to like, peeling at the onion. Continue peeling.
You keep asking, and then it's like, because I love my mom, or what?
Exactly. But then you can kind of look at like really the underlying reason, because it's typically we're looking it's easier sometimes surface, or like the action or the doing versus the being. What does it actually mean to me to do these things?
But even it's so wonderful, like even if we don't peel back all those layers, the information that you get, right? With I'm doing this because I want to be better at my emails, because I want to get better at my job. It's like so good to see that Allie is a human who really likes the work she's doing.
Takes pride in it. Yeah.
If you have sort of different focal goals though, is there a way to target stuff? Like say you want to be able to focus longer, or say like you want to be more patient with someone. Is there ways to like, or are you just sort of trying to be more at peace with yourself and all that stuff will fall into place?
So are there ways, I think your question is, are there ways to have an intention in mind going into the meditation? And like, will that work? And I would say that, you can have an intention or a motivation at the beginning. That's a helpful way to remind the mind that it's like, this is the direction I'd like to be going. I'm looking to cultivate more patience in my life. And I will say it's probably a little challenging to do that on your own. That's kind of it's a good one to bring into a group or with a teacher, to have a guided meditation around patience for yourself. But that also could just be a very simple thing you could do. If patience, let's take patience. I like that one. You can use the breath as a focal point. You can sit with the breath and bring all of your attention, your awareness to the breath, the inhale, the exhale, in the quiet. And then when you notice that the mind moves away from the breath or it gets dull, you can just say, you can be like, oh, yay, this is an opportunity to be patient with myself, and come back and be like, oh, patience, patience, coming back to this patience. Sometimes like a way that I bring this a patience meditation out, and by the way, I'm like an incredibly impatient person. I think that like
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
Like I'm incredibly impatient. I like when I was 23, I wanted to be 28. I just like was like, I'm 28. That was like I was like always 5 years ahead.
That's the most amazing example of impatience I could possibly imagine.
All the women lying down about their age, and you're like,
24, 25, 26, 27. I don't even want those. I just want, like, I was that impatient. It was like,
I'm so impatient. I wanted it to be tomorrow, so I just decided it's tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
I'm 50 now. I moisturize.
So what you can do in a situation where you're feeling impatient with another person, for example, let's pretend that like I'm impatient with Shira and I'm about to snap at her.
Hey, that's what happens.
Happens,
no
right?
judgment.
What I can do in my mind, this is really powerful, guys, is like to think about something that Shira is better at than I am.
Oh,
and then to continue to like list those things in my mind. because the reason that I'm impatient with her is probably because I think somewhere within my ego self, I think that I can do it better, or I think I can do it faster, or like she's not hitting the mark, right? And so in that moment, we have this opportunity to say like, oh wait, like Shira she's a way better conversationalist than I am. She is a better connector than I am. She's got like this incredible personality. And it's not to put ourselves down, but it's to realize that like, hold on, you're jumping to a conclusion. Like in the moment, you're jumping to this conclusion of impatience, of it's not fast enough, good enough, whatever it is.
I have a different, my own process for this that I've learned over time. A bit through my meditation and also some psychedelic experiences.
Oh, we should talk about that. Super curious about that.
About creating a gap between the stimuli and the reaction. So the more I go through meditation, I look at it like Matrix style, where it allows me to slow down my reaction to things and be more aware of my choice. So
that's how I feel about cold showers. I know that sounds crazy, but I don't snap at people as much because
that's really actually an effective way of like moving from a negative mood into a positive one, of shifting anxiety into joy. It's just like washing it away. Cold shower, beautiful.
I think we all have our own practices, and that's like, then you get to be curious to be like, wow, does this work for me? Does that? Like for me, I feel like I've cultivated more patience because once again, it's nothing is perfect. One, when I take responsibility and accountability from what I'm feeling versus saying it's on that other person. They've made me feel this way. I say, well, what is it in me that right now is getting triggered or wants to snap? And say, like, because that's the thing I can control. I can't control that other person, what they're going to do, but I can control I can't choose my reaction. So part of that is definitely compassion, and then just being able to like really sit with myself and saying like, what is it? Like maybe this person reminds me of something I've dealt with in the past. Maybe there's this fear of failure. Maybe I haven't gotten enough sleep. Like this past week I was snapping and I said, wow, it's interesting. I feel like if I had done more of my practice in the morning, I was skipping my meditation practice. I was skipping my breathing. I wasn't doing anything for myself. I was barely sleeping. And of course I'm going to be snappy and be in a place of like impatience because I'm not giving myself what I need. It's like my vitamins that I know allow me to be the best I can, or I hate saying the word the best I can be, but like in a better place to handle everyday life with love and compassion. And so that's when I feel like I fall by the wayside. And so I do think these practices help create that gap versus, having the stimulus. Someone does something and I react right away because it's so easy to do that. There's like this gap that meditation, and I do think and I'm not an expert, so don't follow my rules here. I'm not a doctor, but some of my psychedelic shroom experiences have allowed me to create a gap between, once again, how I react to things. So I can slow it down a bit. And in that moment, choose, is this going to support me and my vision and my process and my purpose? Or is this going to create more suffering and hurt? And is it coming from ego? Is it coming from attachment? Is it coming because I need to be right and be in control? Like being able to just kind of process that and look at that before you react out of impatience. It's like, for me, that has been helpful.
Do you find that now that you're able to make that gap, do you still get the physical response? Because I know when I get frustrated and impatient with someone, I get angry at them for even affecting my body the way they do. Like, and I still have that gap, but I can't stop my body from freaking out about it. Is that?
That happens. Yeah, that happens. I get a physical, and I think Jordana, you and I, as we're building this new thing and like kind of interacting with each other, not just as friends anymore, but as almost business partners and all that, like a lot comes up. And just because you practice these things does not mean, once again, they're perfect. Like we're all learning. Like I think if we're okay with learning and the idea that it's a never ending journey, we can be okay with things happening and having to get back up and relearn, or like find
when the
Yeah.
body responds, right? Like when we have this
Yeah.
sensation that comes up, the tightness of the chest, or even like, like an ache in the body, that's like this chronic ache that's coming up. This is actually the sign that we get to pay attention to, because what we're learning is to pay attention to our minds. What's really difficult to do is to pay attention to our minds. So when we aren't fully paying attention to our minds, what happens is that it moves to the body. In Tibetan medicine, they actually say that there's this wind energy that takes thoughts from the mind and moves it into the body. So we don't notice that there's something wrong going on in the mind until it manifests somewhere in the body. And in a moment of frustration or getting like losing your patience with someone, it's like very quickly, like woof, right there. And that's this moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling this. And the practice then of meditation, where we're able to sit and find that center, find that calm. We try to shorten the gap, right, between coming back to calm, right? So coming back to that, letting that state of calm be homeostasis. That's our resting place, so that when we're out of alignment, we recognize we're out of alignment. We don't go deeper into the like throwing anger, throwing darts at someone, but realize like, whoa, there I am. Let me do something to intervene here. And that might be walking away. That might be taking a deep breath. That might be going to journal. That might be going to sit in a meditation, but taking like creating a little bit of space where you go down the rabbit hole of I'm mad at you and everything is your fault. Because when we look at it, the truth is that that person didn't cause you to be angry. You caused you to be angry. So you get to cause you to be calm and centered and peaceful.
And yeah, it all comes back to what's your choice. What do you want? So I believe most of us want to be happy, but it's amazing how quickly we choose otherwise. So I also I love Eckhart Tolle, like when I, A New Earth, which, I listened to the kind of the podcast experience with Oprah Winfrey, but the pain body, I do believe we all operate from hurt from childhood and all our stuff and our traumas. So a lot of times when someone is snapping or at you, it's coming from a place of their own sadness and anger. And so we could either feed back into it and then we become our two hurt kids fighting each other. And so what I've noticed is and it doesn't mean I give up on that. A lot of times people go, well, I don't want to lose the fight, or I don't want to act like them to think they're right. And I think if we can get out of that place, if it's not about right or wrong, it's when winning a fight. It's just someone is hurt and a lot of us don't know how to communicate it. So we'll snap or get angry. And if we can see it in that way, I think it actually creates a lot more peace. And you can, as the other person, say, I hear you, I acknowledge and realize it's not on you. You can be there to make them feel better, but also, it's kind of they're reaching out because of hurt that they're dealing with too. And you just happen to be in their space to lash out at.
I think it comes back to the inner game. And the inner game is creating more peace inside. And so if there's this winning, losing, letting them win a fight, well, let them win the fight. If peace is the answer, do I need to be right? Is being right what gives me peace? Really, truly? If we could sit with that, the answer is going to be no. It's not that's not the reason. That's not the absolute. Me being right. Oh, I'm right.
Look where it got us. We have Trump in office. Sorry.
We don't meditate enough, that's why.
I mean.
Well, when you're talking about how, probably everyone wants to be happier, I've been taking this course on the misconceptions about happiness that we all have, and they're pushing the class to be grateful for things. And I've done some gratefulness meditation, but that almost feels different. I'm almost mad that they're in the same category. The focusing on the breath and the bringing the thoughts back seems so different from focusing on something you're grateful for, or forgiving someone that has wronged you. They like, they're both called meditation, but I don't know, they just seem so different to me.
Yeah. They are different kinds of meditations, right? It's like, it's asking like, what's needed right now? What's needed for the heart? What's needed for the mind? And forgiveness is a big one. And we need to also have presence in order to forgive. So the focusing on the breath, that's going to be something that will be, or single pointed focus, something that will bring us more calm, will be part of any meditation. Before we move into being able to forgive, we have to get into the state of restfulness. Same thing about gratitude, right? Like, have you ever been really angry and someone's like, well, what are you grateful for? Like, be grateful. Like, doesn't make you more grateful.
It makes me more angry.
Yeah. Like, screw
like,
you.
Shut up. I don't care. I'm mad right now.
You're from Boston. You're an asshole, Max. So, you know.
Yeah. but there's like the breath and like the just sitting for a moment. That's a breaker point. That's where we break from where we have been to moving into where we're going, which might be gratitude, which might be forgiveness, which might be loving kindness.
Yeah, and don't you find, and Jordana, like, I love your take and what you guys think, but I find even when I do my gratitude journal or any of these practices that are a bit more, guided into a certain intention, still, usually at the beginning, you have to get grounded in yourself to really listen to yourself and feel what you want to share with yourself. You need a shift from your, day or the busyness of something to say, okay, I'm here right now. I'm going to breathe in, breathe out. I'm going to start being reconnected to myself. And then I could really connect to what I want and what I want forgiveness around, or what I have gratitude around. To be present with yourself to get there. And usually that, to support that, it helps to breathe and use these other type of meditation tools.
And the way that, the way that it's taught, in the Buddhist tradition, there's the insight or vipassana meditation where you begin in that way. And that's the focus on the breath. That's the relaxation. That's the stillness. And then you move into analytical. What's the question that you're asking? What are you exploring? So we don't explore until we find that state of calm first. There's absolutely nothing good that happens when we're, like in a state of, well, I shouldn't say that. I should say that almost everything good happens when we are relaxed and restful. So if you want to have a good
squats, I'm just saying.
Well, good decisions, right? Good decisions are made from a place of being rested, and actually good squats come from a place of like being like rested and relaxed too, right? If your mind is somewhere else and you're doing an exercise, you're more likely to hurt yourself.
We did the thing we did today, there was a lot of movement, sort of choreographed hand movement stuff. How do you find that affects, how do you choose which movements to do, and how do you find that the different movements affect the students more? Yeah. So that was a really different one today where I brought in some of the Nada Brahma meditation. So this movement of moving the arms out and around is a movement that came from another meditation from a teacher. And so that's like, it's proven, if you will, and I've done it many times. And I've done it with students many times, and what we find is that doing that bit of action, right, is like pulling in energy, and that it's like, in a sense, it's giving the mind something to do that goes beyond the thoughts, the mental state, but more into a feeling state, more into an energetic state, so that it supports being able to be more calm, peaceful, rested. And so that was one that I took, but I have other ones that, like, I think we brought 4 fingers to the sternum, and we just did these little circular movements here. That's something that I discovered for myself when I was guiding myself in a heart healing meditation, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, that this felt really good. And this is, it's actually in our EFT class, our emotional freedom technique or tapping class. She'll teach you that one of the tapping points, one of the meridian points, is right here.
What does that do exactly when you tap it? Like, what is it supposed to do?
Yeah, so it hits on these points that help us to, and by the way, I'm not certified in tapping, but from what I understand from tapping is that it's these, the meridian points that help us to release stuck emotions. It's emotional freedom, if you will. And so it's this act of like tapping on the meridian point while you're speaking something, that, you know, you're working through an emotion, something that's come up.
I've done that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Look at you,
By
Max.
myself. No, I didn't.
What do you mean,
no.
like instinctively? No
Yeah.
way.
Yeah,
That's
they were like,
amazing.
you got a light. Now, you know, think you got a light in your body. And I was like, okay, there it is. All right, there's my light.
Wow.
Because you're Iron Man, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. That's bizarre. That's so weird.
Sometimes I do think we like have it in us. Each of us have some sort of healing gift, but we just don't connect with it. And I do think we instinctively do things when we're present with ourselves to help ourselves let go or deal with things we're dealing with and process things. And I think that we have an instinct towards those things. And it's interesting that you just said that, because I think we have it more in us than we think. So that it's really about embracing it and then being curious.
Well, when you talk about healing, have any of you ever focused on like a specific injury? And, you know, you hear stories about people watching their back heal and actually healing themselves faster through meditation. I'd love to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, I've quite a bit of experience with that. I've worked with patients who are critically ill, and I also have worked with my own illnesses and even like breaking an arm, right? And what meditation will do is it brings us into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the part of the nervous system that's responsible for rest and for healing. So that's the state of mind, body, physical, and emotional, mental space that we want to be in order to heal faster. So if we're like, if you're sick, you're sick at home with COVID-19 maybe, or the flu, like, right, whatever it is, right? And you're like working furiously, you're full of anxiety, you're like trying to like, you know, make decisions and all of these things, like you're not helping your healing. You can help your healing by resting, relaxing. For COVID-19, you want to be also doing breathing practices and strengthening your lungs. There's a little bit of a fight there, but it's a positive fight of working towards well-being, maybe walking every day as well. But the idea is that the meditation can help you get to a space where your nervous system is at ease so that good things can happen. Simply said.
Yeah. Well, and you're talking about like connecting the physicality and the meditation. You do meditating with yoga? Like, tell me how those connect. I've done them separately.
Yeah. Well, yoga is just an active meditation. And that was
What?
actually...
No, it's like stretching and it's ugly ballet.
Yoga is an active meditation. It's yoga.
I didn't know it was meditation.
Totally. It's yoga is like, we move the body. There's actually in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is like the guiding book that they give to every yoga teacher when they're doing their training. It's like, here's the yoga Bible. There's only one sutra that talks about the yoga poses that you're familiar with, the stretching, the movement. And it more or less says we should do the yoga asanas, the yoga poses, so that we can sit in meditation.
So it's just like a physical form, like piano for me. It was like made to be the thing to physically focus on.
Yeah, they talk about something called the vrittis. The vrittis are these vibrations of the mind. And so in order to calm down the vibrations of the mind, we do things that are active, like yoga. And yoga becomes a moving meditation. As we move with our breath and the vibrations begin to go from high to low, it allows us to then to get to that more meditative state where we're moving with the breath and we're flowing in that way. And then we can sit and we can just be with the breath. And it's like, oh.
Which is also why, Jordana, is that why Shavasana is like the last pose? Because that's like you've done the flow and now you get to be fully calm with your body and mind, or like, is that, or is there
Shavasana is a grounding pose. It's actually not always the last pose in yoga, but most of the classes that we go to, it's the last pose. It's an integration pose. It's a surrender pose. There's a lot of, for example, in India, there's a school called Shivananda, and the Shivananda school of yoga, they do a Shavasana pose after every pose.
That's so when you're lying down, by the way. You know, when you're like just lying down in yoga?
Yes. Corpse pose is how it's like the translation. You're just lying like a corpse, palms facing up towards the sky, just taking up some space and letting the body relax. So sometimes we do that even at the beginning of a class. We really need a lot of grounding. You can do it at the beginning. But again, like the Shivananda school, they do one pose and then they integrate it with a Shavasana.
I love how Mac's taking so many notes.
Just write it down to Google later.
Jordana, I have a specific question for you because of the class we just took. You sleep with no phone and you wake up before 7 a.m. with no alarm.
Yeah, what is that?
Tell our listeners how you're superhuman.
Well, it's like regular, right? We all have like, you get onto a regular schedule. Like in quarantine, it's especially easy, but actually even out of the quarantine, I have a pretty regular bedtime and wake up time. So I'm just trained to do that. And here where I live in Thailand, if I don't get up and go outside by 7 a.m., I lose my shot until about 6 p.m. because it's way too hot. And I know that like part of my well-being is that I'm doing some kind of movement, that I'm outside, that I'm getting into the day by connecting. And so if I sleep in, it's over. And so I think that my body knows that and it gets up.
Good for you. I'm not. I could. Jordana knows. When I don't have an alarm, I could like literally sleep till like 11 or 12
p.m.
Also, the sun starts to rise right at 6:30, so there's a little bit more light that's coming into the room. So I think that also begins to wake me up. So I'm very much in that rhythm of, at least as I try to. It's a bit hard, with having a startup to go to sleep at a normal hour, but because I get up early every day and I do have a good amount of physical exercise every day, I'm exhausted by 9 or 10 p.m. And so I push past it like a lot lately, but I'll still wake up at the same time.
There you go. I take what's that cherry thing that I take? Do you know what it's called? The cherry.
Oh, yeah. She takes a
melatonin. Yeah, tart cherry. Yeah, it has melatonin. And you put it in water. I get it from Purium, but it really helps me sleep much better these days. But still, my circadian rhythm, I think naturally, my body wants to go to bed at 1 a.m. and wake up at 9. That's like my natural. But I really want to try to change it. I keep trying.
Yeah. The way that you could change it is kind of like cool little trick, and really all of our rhythms are with the sun setting. If it's like something else, it's just because we've become habituated to something else. But
makes sense.
If you were to go out into nature with a tent and no phone, and sleep for a week, like just
a laptop.
Go through just a laptop, an iPad, and all of that.
Kindle.
A Kindle, and it would reset your circadian rhythm.
So I basically need to go out in the middle of nowhere in a tent.
You got the time.
I've heard if you put yourself in a completely unexposed to sun room, that our circadian rhythm will actually end up being 25 hours. I
haven't heard that. Yeah, that's really interesting. Max, write that down.
Do it.
Right,
Max.
25.
Yeah, research.
Google that.
Fact check.
For a video.
25. I wrote it down.
Well, I think my next step is going to be using you guys instead of, well, I had started with Calm, and I did 10 days of Calm for 10 minutes. And the results I saw were that I was 10 minutes late to every appointment for those 10 days.
And then I was mad, and then I judged myself for being so mad at myself.
Yeah. Oh. So it was really interesting being like in this group with you all and like being together apart digitally.
Yeah.
Like, what have you seen, like how it changes being, you know, on Zoom with people, and how is it worse? How is it better? You know?
Jordana can speak on that because she teaches classes. I'm just the partner who I'm an enthusiast. I'm passionate about this. I myself, I'm constantly curious about these tools. So Jordana can speak on how it's different, like teaching in person in class and what the reactions are and all that.
Yeah. In person it's wonderful to be in person, but actually I found that what we've been creating and what we are creating on Zoom is even more personable, because it has to be, because we're dealing with something so huge right now that we have never dealt with before. We have nothing to look at to say, how's this going to go? We're in this big ellipses of our existence, right? So that's there. And then because we can't connect physically, we've got to like overcome the barrier of the screen and the camera and find ways to connect even deeper. And so I've found that it's in the classes that I teach that are all on Peace Inside Live, where we have the cameras on, and there's interaction between us. And by the way, I do teach other classes that don't have the camera on, not in Peace Inside, but you know, for other studios. And the way that we do it for Peace Inside, the way that we're able to interact in this way, I find to be really powerful, because we're going deeper than we would have. And we're in a situation, a circumstance where it's really the only place to go is inside.
Yeah. And there's also community to, like, when you're able to go and Zoom and see people from class to class and you're kind of meeting and sharing, it is really powerful. Also during this time where people need connection. You know, I think we're desperately searching for connection, and when we can create safe spaces to be vulnerable and to do the work, and you're able to have the courage to share that, it's a really beautiful thing. And we've seen those moments of people that maybe didn't have their camera on or audio on, and then they get the courage to share, and it's like it can really create a huge shift for themselves and others in that space. So it is really cool.
Yeah, we had that today actually in class. There was somebody who shared that she said, this is my community. She's like, this is what makes me feel connected. Is this right here? Like this class, these classes. And she's someone, I've seen her, she was in at least one of my other classes this week. How wonderful. And yesterday in class, one person shared and someone else like chimed in, and they unmuted themselves. They're like, hi, it's nice to see you, you know? Mm-hmm. And they've actually never met in person, those two people. They've just been in a few of the same classes and workshops where they've shared and they've seen each other share.
And I would also add that what's cool is because this is all virtual, it allows us to build more of a global community. Whereas if we were doing something just in LA with people in LA, right? So we've had people from India, from Canada, from Colombia, from the UK.
Yeah, and plus the last thing you want to do is hang out with people from LA. That's
so, but it shows, like, I think that it's cool to meet like-minded individuals, but still have their own unique experience and their own thing they're going through. And then you get to learn from them also. And so I just think that's pretty cool for me to see people like, and you're like, how did you discover this? You're like, I don't know. It's like friend of a friend, or like, I just saw it posted somewhere. And that's really cool. It makes it definitely more real. Like, obviously we've all been on YouTube and all that, and views, and you can just, you know, videos are discovered like that. But I think that with this, people need to take the step of, you know, RSVPing or getting the link, and then like actually, you know, putting their info, and then showing up. So, you know, you actually have to put in the effort to show up, and it's not for us, it's for yourself.
Yeah, when Max first sent me the link today, I was like, wait, I'm nervous. What? It was like such a different experience than a YouTube video. Before I went on, I had to like get prepared for it.
The hardest part is
commit.
showing up.
Yeah.
Showing up, right? But when you do, you can have, as Max said, the best meditation he's had all year.
Glowing review.
Number one.
It's
Very cool.
amazing.
Okay, so where can our audience find you guys?
Well, you go, Jordan.
You go.
I'm at, all right. So we both have our own personal, obviously socials at Shira Lazar, and
I'm at Jordana is Yoga.
but more importantly, you can check out Peace Inside Live, peaceinside.live. We're at Peace Inside Live on all social media. On the site, you can just put in your email. Then we send emails every morning with the class links that are the 2 morning and night that are free right now. And then
2 a day. You guys are on the grind.
Morning and night, yeah. And listen, this is a flexible process. We're learning as we grow this and create this with the community, and that's what's so beautiful about it. And then on the site also, if you go to classes, there are direct links to RSVP, but we always say just like if you do the email, that it makes it easy because it just is more convenient. And then when we have updates or virtual retreats that we announce or any sort of like other speakers, you'll know it first, and it's just easy to kind of get a sense of everything happening.
Okay, awesome. I'm definitely going to be there, so everyone come hang out with me. Probably Max, huh? You in, buddy?
Isn't that cool? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thanks guys. It was great being able to pick your brains. Thanks for putting up with my skepticism.
Thanks for having us. This is really fun.
It's a fun way to spend a Saturday night.
Sunday morning.
Awesome. All right, and thanks to the Fitheads. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, and we will see you next week.